I can confidently say that after hearing the story of this film, whatever situation or circumstances you are facing in your life, you will find your life much better. This is a true story, and it is the story of Solomon Northup. Although this film was made in 2013, but this true incident happened in 1841, a time when people were enslaved and there was no difference between humans and animals. Solomon Northup was a free African American. It's mean, he was of African descent but lived in America and was not a slave. It was a time when there was discrimination between black and white people. Just as people go to the market today to buy animals, during this period, people would buy other people and keep them as slaves for life, treating them however they wished. Northup lived in New York with his family. He had a wife and 2 children, and his family was very happy and he lacked nothing. He was a musician by profession, he plays the violin, and he was highly respected by people. One day, Northup's friend introduced him to 2 white men named Brown and Hamilton. They told Northup that they had a job for him, which would require him to go to Washington with them and play the violin. They offered him $70 per day and $250 on the days he performed, which was a substantial amount at that time. Northup accepted their deal and went to Washington with them. One night, he went to a restaurant with the 2 men who had brought him to Washington, and they ate food and drank alcohol there. The next morning, when Northup wakes up, he finds himself in a dark cell with chains on his hands and feet. He is shocked to see himself in such a place and realizes that the 2 men must have drugged his drink the previous night, causing him to pass out. Now, he is in a dungeon. After some time, 2 men come in. Northup tells them, "I'm not a slave. I'm a free man, a resident of New York, the residence of my wife and children who are equally free, and you have no right whatsoever to detain me." The men respond by saying, "You're not any free man, and you aren't from New York, you're from Georgia. You're nothing but a Georgia runaway, you're just a runaway nigger." After that, without saying a word, they whip Northup. He doesn't understand the reason behind this brutal treatment. And Northup is not alone there. There are other black people as well, including a family with a mother, a son, and a daughter. Now, they are transported to another place on a ship. At night, when everyone is asleep, a white man enters their cabin and wakes up the woman, who accompanies him. As you know, a man taking a woman with him can only mean one thing. The woman is a slave, and she has children with her. So, besides going with that man, she has no other option. Just then, one of the 3 men wakes up and places his hand on the shoulder of the man, who was taking the woman with him. As he does so, he stabs him with a knife, and the man falls to the ground. In the morning, they throw his body into the sea. Here, the life of slavery holds no value. They see slaves as nothing more than animals, indifferent to whether they live or die. After disembarking from the ship, they are all seated in one place, and each person's name is called out. Whoever's name is called stands up. Then a name is called, Platt, and no one stands up. The person calling the names asks Northup why he didn't stand up. Northup now stands and says, "My name is not Platt, my name is Solomon." But, before he can finish his sentence, he receives a powerful slap across the face from the person. Northup falls silent. From here, they are taken to a house where there are other slaves like them, who are also being sold. Today, just like how we go to big showrooms to buy clothes and shoes, there's a showroom where not clothes or shoes, but people are sold. They strip them of their clothes and stand them naked in front of everyone. Then the bidding begins. A man wants to buy Platt and the woman who has 2 children, and he purchases them for $10,000. However, the woman keeps crying and pleading, asking the man to buy her children as well, promising to serve as his slave for life. The man also wants to buy her daughter because she's young and he wants her to stay with her mother. But the seller refuses, saying, "No sir, forgive me, I cannot send her away just yet. She is still a blooming rose, and I need to make a lot of money from her." This was the era when humans were merely a commodity, and in this way, a mother is separated from her 2 children. She cries bitterly for many days, but her tears hold no value to anyone. But the man who buys Northup and the lady for $10,000 is a good person. Northup's new name is Platt now. No one knows him by the name Northup anymore, and his new companion even tells him, "If you want to stay alive here, never tell anyone you're not a slave. And don't say you know how to read and write either." Here, all the slaves have to work, cutting trees in the jungle and doing other odd jobs. Northup is an educated and intelligent person. Somewhere, his qualities are reflected in his personality. And because their new owner, who bought them, is a good person, Northup wants to please him so that the man can help him get out of here, become free, and return to his home and family. Now, the people who work here use transportation to bring the wood. One day, Northup tells them that we can take the wood quite far along the water's edge, which will save on transportation costs and require less effort. But their supervisor asks him, "Are you an engineer?" And he tells his master that it can't be done. The water is deep, the wood will sink. But North insists that the water is 10 to 12 feet deep, and we can do it. Then their master says, "Make a team and show me what you can do." Northup demonstrates, and upon seeing it, their master is very pleased and says, "Well done, you've shown what you can do." And then the master also gifts Northup a violin because he's a good person, and in his eyes, there's some value to being human. But on the other hand, Northup's supervisor has taken a dislike to him, and his only fault is that he's done a good job. But the bigger fault, according to the supervisor, is that Northup is a slave, and the supervisor wants revenge. Once he tells him to build a wooden house, and Northup builds it very well. But when the supervisor sees the house, he finds many flaws, many mistakes. Northup says, "If there's any flaw in this house, any mistake, then it's your misunderstanding. I've done my job very well." After hearing this, the supervisor becomes very angry. He takes off his belt and says, "Strip your clothes." But Northup doesn't take off his shirt because he hasn't done anything wrong, and because of this, a physical fight breaks out between the two. At one point, Northup snatches his belt and hits him back. Just then, another supervisor arrives and the fight between the two ends. He asks, "What is the matter?" Northup says, "Master Tibiats wants to whip me for using the nails you gave me." Northup lies because he wants to save himself. The supervisor warns him not to move if he wants to stay alive. Both supervisors, along with the one Northup fought with, leave. Northup remains seated, and after a while, 3 people arrive, one of whom is the supervisor Northup fought with. They tie his hands and legs, put a noose around his neck, and hang him on a tree. Just then, a man with a gun arrives there and tells the supervisor, "If you value your life, let him go, because he is our slave." This isn't about Northup's life, it's about the value of a slave. Slaves are very expensive, and no one wants to lose their slave. The supervisor and his 2 companions run away, but before leaving, the supervisor threatens Northup, saying, "I won't let you go." The man who saved Northup then says, "Bring my horse and call the master," and the supervisor goes to fetch the master. But Northup is still in the same position, with a noose around his neck and his hands and feet bound, hanging on the tree. He is standing on his tiptoes because he cannot place his full feet on the ground. If he does, he will be hanged. Northup remains hanging like this for several hours. Many people are around him, but it seems like nothing is happening here because Northup's life holds no value here. But several hours later, when Northup's master arrives, he quickly cuts the rope and brings him down. He then takes him to his home and says, "This supervisor wants you dead, and he will have it so. I won't be able to do anything, that's why I've sold you." Northup pleads, "Master, before I came to you, I was a freeman. Please send me back home." His master replies, "I can't help you because I'm in debt, and that's why I sold you. You can only be safe there. Saving your life is the only thing I can do for you." After this, Northup is sent to a new place where the work involves cotton picking. The master there is very strict. Every evening, the amount of cotton each person has picked is tallied, and anyone who picks less than 100 kilos is whipped. There is a girl named Patsy who picks up to 250 kilos of cotton every day, which is an impressive amount, double what anyone else manages. The master is very pleased with Patsy's work. Patsy catches the master's eye, but this is common in slavery, there's no respect for them, and their owners use them however they want, whenever they want. One night, while all the slaves are sleeping, a man arrives and says, "Come with me, master has summoned you." He takes them all to the master's house. The master tells them to dance. This also is a common occurrence. The master calls them to dance in front of him whenever he pleases. Although none of them want to dance, they have no choice. From the moment they wake up until night, they work tirelessly, and even when it's time for a little rest, the master calls them in. As they are dancing, the master's wife picks up a bottle and throws it directly at Patsy's face, causing her to cry out in pain. Patsy is still quite young. The master's wife attacks her because she knows her husband has a lustful eye for Patsy. She demands that her husband sell Patsy, but he refuses, saying he won't sell her under any circumstances because she's an excellent worker. The underlying reason is that he wants to have sexual relations with Patsy. The mistress is also deeply troubled. One day, she calls Northup and gives him a list, instructing him to go to the market to buy supplies. Before he leaves, she asks him, "Can you read and write?" Northup lies and says, "No, I can't." She says, "What do you need to read and write for? You're here to be a slave, and if you try anything else, you'll get whipped." After this, Northup leaves for the market. He is exhausted and frustrated with his life. On his way, he contemplates escaping and starts running through the forest. However, after going a little further, he sees some white men hanging slaves. They ask him, "Where are you going? Whose slave are you?" Northup replies, "I'm going to the market. My master sent me." When they see the tag around his neck, they recognize which master he belongs to. During this era, every slave had a tag hanging around their neck, much like a dog's collar. Even if it sounds bad, but this was the reality. They let Northup go, but they hang the other slaves they had caught. After that, Northup goes straight to the market because he wants to live and return to his family. He knows that if he gets caught, he will face the same fate as those slaves. He buys the supplies at the market and brings them back to his mistress. As time slowly passes, they have spent many years here as slaves, enduring countless cruelties. And now, Patsy's master rapes her every night. She doesn't want it, but she's powerless to stop it. It seems like humanity has disappeared here. One night, Patsy comes to Northup and gives him a ring. She says it's the mistress's ring, and I stole it. She tells him to keep it, but in return, he must do something for her. Northup asks, "What you want?" She says, "Kill me, take me to the fields, drown me in the water, and don't let me up until I'm dead." Northup says, "What are you talking about? I can't do that." She pleads, "I am begging you. If I can't buy my death, at least give it to me as a favor." But Northup refuses. Patsy says, "Even if I stay alive, for what? There is nothing in my life, and I can't bear this anymore." Yet, Northup doesn't agree, and Patsy leaves from there. In the meantime, for 2 consecutive years, the cotton crop fails, causing a significant loss to their master. So, he rents out all his workers to someone else, who was a judge. Here, they are assigned to cut sugarcane. During this period, Northup gets an opportunity to play the violin at a wedding, where he earns some money. After some time, they all return to their original master and resume working in the cotton fields. And the same routine starts again. Anyone who brings in less than 100 kilos of cotton gets whipped. Northup often receives whippings because he never manages to bring in more than 100 kilos. During this period, a new worker arrives among them, and this time, it's not a black person but a white man. He is working for money, but it still feels like slavery. Here, the discrimination between them becomes evident. Whenever a black worker brings in less than 100 kilos of cotton, they get whipped. However, when this white man brings in less than 100 kilos, even if it's much less, like 50 kilos, he doesn't get whipped. Instead, he's told, "You'll learn to do it right over time." Since this white man lives with the slaves and shares their hardships, a friendship develops between them. One day, Northup asks the white worker if he can do him a favor. The worker asks, "What kind of favor?" Northup explains, "I need to write a letter and have you post it for me. In return, I'll give you some money." Northup has a small amount of money saved from playing the violin at a wedding, and he gives it to the worker, saying, "I'll give you the letter in 2 days." This task is incredibly risky because if their master finds out, both of them could be killed. The worker agrees and takes the money, saying, "All right, give me the letter in 2 days, and I'll mail it for you." One night, while Northup is sleeping, his master comes in with a knife in hand, and he was drunk. He says, "I've heard there's an educated slave among us." Northup responds, "Master, what are you talking about?" The master continues, "The white slave says you've been trying to send a letter. Are you educated?" Northup denies it, saying, "No, he's lying. He wants to become the overseer here, and that's why he made up this story to gain your favor." And Northup successfully convinces his master that everything he said is a lie. His master says, "I would have killed him, but he's one of us." Then, he leaves, and after he's gone, Northup, filled with despair, burns the letter he had written with so much hope. Along with the letter, his dreams and hopes are also reduced to ashes. If that letter had reached his home, there was a chance that Northup could have gained his freedom, because Northup was not a born slave, he had been deceitfully brought into slavery. After this incident, Northup's old miserable life resumes. He is continuously humiliated, beaten, and disrespected, and his trust in everyone is completely shattered. Time passes slowly as he endures the harsh reality of his existence, filled with cruelty and devoid of dignity. One day, Patsy goes missing, and their master thinks she has run away. He searches everywhere for her but can't find her. After a while, she returns, but the master is furious. He asks her, "Where did you go?" She replies, "I went to the fields," but he doesn't believe her and starts to beat her. Just then, Northup comes to stop his master. His master also hits him, and that's when Patsy tells the truth. "I went to the shop, they don't give me soap to bathe, and my whole body stinks." But even then, their owner's anger doesn't subside. He ties Patsy to a tree and strips off her clothes. Then he tells Northup, give her a whipping. Although Northup doesn't want to, he's compelled to. Northup starts to whip her slowly, and upon seeing this, their owner gets even angrier. He pulls out a gun, aims it at Northup's head, and says, whip her until she bleeds, or I'll shoot all of you. So, Northup reluctantly begins to whip her, and her entire back becomes welted. But even this doesn't satisfy their owner. He snatched the whip from Northup and continues to beat her mercilessly, so much so that her entire back becomes raw, and she collapses unconscious right there. Northup's heart shatters completely at this, feeling utterly defeated by life's cruelty. He smashes his violin, the most important thing in his life, into pieces. Now, another man arrives here to work, but he's not a slave because he's white-skinned. He's only working for money. His name is Bass, and he's a very good person. One day, while Bass is working in the sun with all the other slaves, their owner comes and tells Bass, have a little alcohol, you'll feel better. But Bass refuses to drink, and his owner understands that Bass has something in his heart. He asks Bass to speak up if he has anything on his mind. Bass replies, you can see my exhaustion, my sweat, but you don't see the exhaustion and sweat of those who have been reducing your years in slavery. He says they all are my slave. Bass tells him, think about what if tomorrow the roles reverse and you become someone's slave, how would you feel? He says that can never happen. Bass says, I'm just saying it for you to ponder. Northup was just observing everything, and Northup understands that Bass is a good person. One day, while working, he asks Northup if there's something on his mind, if he wants to say anything. However, Northup had been betrayed by a white man before, so initially, he hesitates to reveal anything to him. But later, he confesses everything. He says, I wasn't a slave, I was a free man. They sent me here under false pretenses. If you inquire about my home, perhaps I'll be set free. Bass responds, what you're asking for is very risky, not only for your life but for mine as well. However, I'll send a letter to your family. If you achieve freedom, I'll be very happy. After working for a few months, Bass leaves the place. One day, Northup and his companions are working in the fields when a carriage arrives, containing two men, a police officer and another man. The policeman dismounts and approaches the people working in the field, asking who among them is Platt. Northup goes to him. The police officer then points out the man who is standing in front of the carriage, asking if he knows him. Upon closer inspection, Platt responds, Mr. Parker. Actually, Mr. Parker was the individual from whose store Northup and his family used to buy goods in New York. The police officer asks, have you any other name than Platt? And he says, Platt isn't my name is Solomon Northup. After that, the police officer asks him a few more questions, and he gives the right answer to every question, and the police officer become convinced that he is Solomon Northup, who has been made a slave by deception. Afterwards, he goes to Mr. Parker and hugs him, crying a lot. His owner is also there and tries to stop Northup, but Mr. Parker says that if you try to stop him, I'll ruin you in court. And when finally he's leaving from there, Patsy calls him from behind, and he stops and goes to hug Patsy, and both cry a lot because today Northup is becoming free, and they know that they'll never meet each other again. Think about it, Northup is getting his freedom today, but Patsy's life is still the same in that hell where she's made to work all day, beaten, and even raped. Just imagine what Patsy's life will be like. Afterwards, it showed that Northup had returned home, and his children had grown up. His daughter had gotten married, and he also had a son named Solomon Northup Stanton. Northup is very happy to see his entire family and cries a lot, apologizing to them, saying that he was trapped, because his family didn't know that he had become a slave. His family forgives him, saying that he did nothing wrong. Solomon Northup is just one story. There were thousands of people who disappeared during that time, enslaved without anyone ever finding out. After that, Solomon Northup filed a case against the people who kidnapped him, but it didn't yield any results. And, in 1853, Northup wrote a book titled 12 Years a Slave. After the book was published, he gained attention and raised his voice against the practice of slavery, due to which he is still seen with respect. And the death of Solomon Northup, when, where and how it happened, is still a mystery. And with that, this story comes to an end. So friends, that's it for today. Be sure to share your thoughts in the comments. And if you liked the video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel alongside giving it a like. Stay well, stay healthy. Goodbye for today. Thank you so much.